Hello. I am starting this new thing. I've never gone live from here before. So bear with me as we get this going. And I am excited. I hope everyone has had a fantastic day. I think that worked. That did work. Okay, so I don't have to press it twice. We're on a couple minutes early so I can get my bearings here before we get started. I have exciting things to share, and we start in just another minute, so I think it's going to be great. And I wonder, hi Hannah, oh my goodness. I was just going to say, I wonder how I can see people's comments and see where they are. And if you are watching and it blesses you, I encourage you to share it with friends and tag people. What I want to do is, and we've got 60 seconds, okay? I'm trying to also share this to my personal page. And I'm not sure. Hi, Judith! Oh my goodness. Hello. I want to see if I can see this bigger so I can see your comments bigger. Will this help me? It will not. I see myself bigger. I don't see your comments bigger. So if I look like I'm looking back and forth, that's why. All right. But it is so good to see you, Judith. Hello, Hannah. And Jamie, I know you're here too. So without further ado, it's 9:30 and I don't want to take up too much time. But I've got some cool things to share, so I'm really, really glad that you're here with me today. If you've never met me before and you're like, who is this Dallas Cohen person and why is she smiling in my timeline right now? Hello and welcome, and I'm super glad that you're here. My name is Dallas Cohen and they call me the Rebound Coach. Before becoming the Rebound Coach, there's just a whole bunch I want to share, and I barely even know the order in which I want to share it. But the title of this today was how to be free of what's holding you back. And so they call me the Rebound Coach, but long before that, I was raised in a very good Christian home by two people that my parents loved God, they loved each other, they were married for a lifetime, and hey Jamie, and they gave me a really good example of how to have a good marriage, have a good godly marriage. As a matter of fact, my mother was terminally ill, so I learned about what it's like to be a caretaker in a marriage, and they were a fantastic example. At the same time, I was molested from the age I was from 8 to 16. And so that really, it radically affects how you see yourself. For me, as growing up in a faith-based home, how I related to God and how I related to men. So fast forward, when I met the man I married, there were definite red flags, right? And so people ask me when they hear the end of my story, okay, thanks. I'm looking at this comments now. Thank you, ladies. You got help. There's technical support over here. I appreciate y'all. But when people hear the end of my story, the beginning doesn't make sense. The end of my story is I was married to a man for 10 years who wanted me dead. And that doesn't make sense for someone who had the background like I had. So I'm kind of catching you up in the middle. Okay. So, when I did meet him, there were red flags for sure, right? But I'm a praying woman. And so, number one, I 100% believed that God was with us, and I was making the decision that God wanted me to make. And I felt that it wasn't going to be easy, but whatever came our way, we would be able to handle it, whatever trouble came, right? And so trouble came right away. Sometimes you hear people talk about a honeymoon phase, or they were really deceived. Women who come out of abusive relationships and abusive marriages say, man, I was deceived, and he was sweet and wonderful, and then all of a sudden this thing happened. Well, that wasn't my story, right? There were red flags, but I believed that we would be able to handle whatever came. And so when trouble came right away, it never really went away. It kind of faded into the background and came back up with a vengeance in some sort of crisis. And as the years went on, the crises, the blow-ups got worse and worse and worse. And January of 2020, so not quite that long ago, January of 2020, the man I was married to left for another woman. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm making this announcement, I'm leaving now. Like there was nothing civilized about this. Okay. He just kind of lied and left. And when I found out where he was, I found out that's where he was. And the next day, it was January 7th or 8th. It was such a crazy pivotal moment that I remember. And I got a phone call from someone that I had just called the police on. It was crazy. And she begged me not to hang up because she had something really important to share. And what she shared was he and the woman he was with had actually been plotting my murder for months by the time I found out. And it was... if you can imagine, kind of having a movie score in your head and the record scratches, like that's where we were. It was an outrageous moment of like, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe this is happening to me. God, I'm supposed to be your girl. What the bleepity bleep bleep, right? Like all of that was happening. And to make the long story really, really short, through a divine set of events. And when I tell you divine, there is no other way to explain how I am here with you today. There is no other way to explain, because the mindset I was in, and I had no idea how far things had gone. I didn't know how dangerous things had become. I didn't know the danger I was in. God was literally saving my life before I knew I needed to be saved. And my children. It was amazing. And so a real pivotal moment for me as a human being. Yes, Judith, glory to God. There's no other. I was threatened as a human being, as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, as a child of God, right? But also as a coach. If you've known me for some years, and several of you have that are on or that may see this later, I've been a life coach, the Rebound Coach. I've been coaching in some form or fashion for 20 years. And at the time, I'd been coaching in marriage and relationship for about 5 years, since 2015, and we were at 2020, so about 5 years. I had been helping women navigate real gnarly relationships, because I was in a really tough relationship, and I was very dedicated to marriage. I was dedicated to God and believed that honoring God meant staying married, and that's the only way. I believed that was the only way, and there's many people who also believe as I did. And even in the face of abuse, there were concepts I didn't know about. I didn't know about the concept of spiritual abuse. I understood about emotional abuse to a point, and emotional infidelity, which my marriage was full of emotional infidelity and spiritual abuse. And I did not see those as biblical reasons for divorce, or even as reasons to separate, or as reasons to do anything other than pray and ask God, do my part as a wife, and to ask God to change things. And I believed that that's exactly what was going to happen. And I believed all I had to do was outlast the trouble. That was my mission. I was just going to outlast the trouble, and God was going to do something amazing. Well, the truth is, God did do many amazing things. It just wasn't the things I thought he was going to do. So in that moment where I was just completely threatened, my identity, my very identity, and the platform I had stood on as a faith-based marriage coach, right? Preparing women for marriage, helping women through really tough marital situations, and being a Christian marriage educator for all intents and purposes, right? To have your identity wrapped around that idea, and then and have that on the floor, right? So my pride is crushed, my hope in God is crushed, my very identity, who I am, what I stand for, is all in question. And I had a choice. I could allow that the literal death that my husband had planned for me to tell me who I was, the years of emotional abuse and religious abuse, spiritual abuse, to tell me who I was, what I could have, what I could stand for, how many days I was allowed to have on this earth. Or I could choose life. So if you've been around a little while, I wrote a book back in 2015 called Goodbye or Go Through, right? And so out of this entire story, not just this story, but other stories in my life, I've written a second book. If you haven't seen it, if you've been around on my Facebook, you've definitely seen it. It's called I Choose Life, Rewrite Your Love Story and Change Your Legacy. And I'm very excited to share it with you. It's not just a story of the marriage, because people start asking questions, and I'm like, listen, there's too many details. You just got to get the book. But not just that story, but going back to how I was predisposed to make certain kinds of decisions. Now, if you listen to me tell you the story, I 100% believed that God was with me, and I won't say made, but gave me instruction to marry who I married. And I still believe that. At the same time, I was predisposed to allow certain kinds of behavior in my life. Certain kinds of behavior were okay for me, which may not have been okay for other people. And people would get a whiff of some of the things I was dealing with, and they'd say, you're strong, right? And it always made me think, like, that's not the answer I was going for. Right? That's not what I was trying to come across. I wasn't trying to say, like, I'm strong, but that's what people would hear, right? And it's because I was predisposed. And we all have areas where we were predisposed to make certain kinds of choices, to allow certain kinds of behavior in our life, and we've learned to function really well. Especially women, we're really good at this. We've learned to function incredibly well, and we're in that cycle of coping the crisis. So I want to share with you today a few signs of how do you know that you're in a coping the crisis. Oh, before I forget, you can find this at TheReboundCoach.com/book. Now, this is my first time streaming through Facebook this way. So I'm not able to share my screen and show you videos like I wanted to. So when the time comes to talk about those videos, I'm going to pop those links in the chat, and then you can watch them after, okay? But I want to put here how you can get the book. And I'm trying to multitask, and I'm just going to switch executive function. Okay, thanks, Jamie. TheReboundCoach.com/book is where you can get the book. You can get one from Amazon, and they will ship it to you. Or I will sign one of these for you, sign it, and mail it to you myself. So either one, you can find those options at TheReboundCoach.com/book. Okay, so how do you know? How do you know you're in coping crisis? Because guess what? Everyone who's in those cycles don't know that they're in them. Every last one. And I guarantee you, in one of the areas of your life, you are in this cycle. It can happen anywhere. So in your relationship with your God, or spiritual relationship, and your relationship with yourself. This is where I like to camp out, talking about, thank you, Hannah with the, y'all got my back. I appreciate you. In your relationship with yourself, which is the area I camp out the most, because these impact your relationship with God, your relationship with you, impact the rest of them. In the book, I talk about your tree of life and the branches of your tree of life. And so I won't go into that full teaching here, but I will tell you that there are several main areas of life in which they're all affected similarly. Okay, so if you imagine a tree and roots, okay, your roots affect the different areas of your life. And often we don't see a trend. We can say, I'm real confident here, but I'm real weak over there. Well, the reality is you're weak across the board. It just shows up differently in those different areas. So we talk about a cycle of coping and crisis. In your relationship with God, in your relationship with you, in your relationship with a significant other, a marriage, a boyfriend or girlfriend, significant other, with your children, if you have children, or the next generation, with your work, whatever that is, with your community, your friends, your extended family, and your relationship with hope. I don't think people ever put intentionality around your relationship with hope. You actually have one. I don't know if you knew that. You have a relationship with hope. Whether or not you believe in good or you believe in bad, you are constantly believing, and you are rehearsing your hope. Whether your hope is in something positive to happen or your hope is in something negative to happen, you are rehearsing hope. And there's a relationship with hope that you have the opportunity to steward if you so choose. So, going back to coping in crisis, how do you know? How do you know the other shoe's about to drop? Okay? Because I had no idea. And I thought that I could outlast, right? I was in this marriage. He was really mean all the time. He was really moody all the time. He wasn't interested in doing things with me from the very beginning. But I was fairly independent also, and so I figured, well, fine, he's not going to bother me. I'm just going to do my thing. He's going to do his thing, right? Except that wasn't enough, right? It wasn't enough to be like independent. He had to come crash whatever I had going on, and it got very controlling over the years. And I write a chapter in the book called the boa constrictor. Because it was like that. It was like being married to a boa constrictor. It's warm and comfy at one level, and then it gets tighter and tighter, and you can't breathe all of a sudden. So all right. We saw. Okay. I want to make sure I'm not losing my train of thought, going off on the bunny trail. But when you're in that situation where you're working really hard, and you're trying to hold all your cards together, and you don't realize that the house of cards is going to blow any minute. You don't realize that. You think you have things under control, and it's really only the trained eye of a professional, and sometimes you're carrying friends that can say, hey, you really don't, it's kind of on the floor, it's a big mess. You're like, no, I got this. I thought if I can just, I'm just going to hold, I got my arms out. Like if you can imagine like the Titanic, I don't know why I immediately went there, but if you can imagine the Titanic and you remember like Jack is on the board that's big enough for the two of them, right? Okay, right. But if you can imagine like the shards of wood, and you've got like one hand on one shard of wood in the water and the other hand on the other one, and your legs, you got one leg on one, the other one you're fishing around like trying to find another one, and you're like, I got this. You can imagine like the water is cold, it's nighttime, and everybody's like getting frostbitten and dying, and you're like, I got this, right? Someone who's smart enough looking at you in that situation go, not so much, I think you might need some help. Right? No, I got it. I've learned how to breathe. I've learned how to breathe in this cold air. And when the wind blows, if I just squint and turn to the side, I can make it through the waves that come. Right? And that sounds ridiculous. That sounds ridiculous when we're listening to it. But this is how we're living life. This is how we're living life in different areas. So how do you know? How do you know if you are in a coping in crisis? Number one, if you're stuck in your story. So I used to talk to a lot of divorced women when I was on the other side of the story. And the way I say that is when I was teaching, staying married at all costs is the only way to honor God. And if only we stick with God's way, He's going to work it out, right? So that's a whole other paradigm about if I check my boxes off, God's going to move in the way I expect Him to, right? So that's a whole other paradigm, and I don't have time to go down that road with you today. But in that time I used to talk to divorced women, they would hear me and they'd be like, yeah, but, and they would tell their story, whatever it was, right? And my response to that was normally, I'm sorry that happened to you, but Scripture says this, right? The way I interpreted the Scripture at the time. So if you've ever talked to somebody and they sound like a country song, right? Like every time you talk to them, no matter what the context is, they bring in whatever bad thing happened, and you're constantly hearing about that bad thing that happened. I had a family friend that unfortunately witnessed the death of her spouse, like right in front of her. She saw it happen, which is obviously a very, very traumatic event. But she was talking with me, and I've talked to her maybe 2 or 3 times, and she'd bring up this incident over and over again, and with very specific details. I was standing right here. It was this day. It was that time. I was in that house, and I was wearing these clothes, and he was wearing those clothes, and it was all very, very stuck, in her mind, which is not like that's normal, right? When you have a traumatic event, it's normal that stuff is seared in. What is a sign of being stuck in the story is that you're not able to have context with anything else or other things, right? We're constantly stuck in the story. Something similar to that is oversharing of intimate details. I have another associate, so not a close friend, but an associate who's, when you first meet this person, they're sharing deep, dark, ugly secrets. Just out there. Now sometimes, okay, so I'm the kind of person where people share that stuff with me, they just feel safe to do so. And sometimes you go, okay, well, all right, I'm that person, but it's not just me, right? I'm watching this person interact with other people, and it's all out there on the floor. So it can be a sign of several things, all right? This is not just about coping in crisis cycle. I'm not a licensed therapist, so I'm not going to give you my opinion on some other things it could be tied to, my educated opinion, but won't go there. It's not just that, but when we are oversharing, okay, so we call that TMI in social media language, right? We're oversharing all the time with strangers, with associates, with people who don't need to know all of that, right? It's a sign that we're in that coping in crisis. Like it's in our brain all the time, and it's so loud up here we don't even realize it's inappropriate to share. That's not like, you don't really need to tell about all the dirty business going on to everybody at your first conversation with them. That's a little too much, right? So it's a sign that we're in this, I'm holding on, and it's about to blow, right? And also a really important thing to think about coping in crisis is in our physical health. Often, most of us, I won't say all of us, but most of us are in that cycle with our physical health in some measure, where we're just getting along, and then the crisis comes because we haven't been intentional in remaining healthy, and I'm speaking to myself just as loudly as I'm speaking to you, and being healthy. Maybe it's your vision or your bones or your weight or whatever. A certain kind of illnesses in the family, and you just haven't been intentional about dealing with any of that because you think it's not going to happen to you. And life, if you're old enough, life has taught us that things happen. All right. So those are two ways you know you're coping in crisis. If you are constantly exhausted, right? Like you wake up tired, you go to bed tired, no matter how much you sleep, it's not a physical rest problem. It's an internal rest problem, right? You're just running, because you're constantly trying to keep things together. And that's not always conscious. Sometimes there were times in my marriage where I was desperately suicidal, and not in a way, I wasn't like making plans and such, but just a very deep hopelessness that I was living with. And there are some of us who function high normally, like we're just high functioning people. So when we are depressed, it's hard to tell. When we're struggling, it's hard to tell because we're really good at doing the stuff. Like we get up, we take care of what we need to take care of. We are, I was working. I was the only breadwinner in my home for the entirety of my marriage. So I had to do it, right? Or we'd be on the street. Like I had to take care of the kids. I had to go to work. I had to show up when I'm at work. I had to be present, had to produce, right? So people who would watch, people who found out this about my life later, who'd known me for those years, I go, man, I had no idea. I didn't know it was this bad. Well, shoot, I didn't know it was half as bad as it was. But they didn't know because I was high functioning. And so a lot of us get into that. But even though you're checking your boxes and you're doing your stuff, there's an underlying heaviness where you're just always just exhausted, and all we're looking forward to is getting the next thing done, right? I just need to get the next thing done. And when good things happen, we can't taste the good. We can't taste the savor. We're just, I just got to get the next thing. I just got to get the next thing. Let me just get the next thing. And it's never satisfying. It's never satisfying. We're just keep going like that. Hey, Hannah, thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. Oh, I forgot to say we'll be doing this every week. Yay! I'm excited to be sharing with you every week again. So on Tuesday nights, we'll get to share some time together each time, and hopefully I'll get myself together where we get our time where it needs to be. But I have a lot to share this time, so I'm excited. I wanna get this all to you. So, and I have more points that I'm not gonna get to. I know that for sure. But but I'll share these just so you know, if you're in that place where you are, where you're in coping in crisis. If you're treading water, but you never quite arrive, right? You're putting forth lots of effort trying to get somewhere, for business people, we're like, I'm going to be faithful with the few, and I'm going to be ruler over much, and I'm going to have all this stuff, and I'm gonna, right? And we're treading, we're working, but we never quite arrive, right? Like it's just a constant pant, and a constant struggle. That's another way of, you're in that coping the crisis cycle. If you're preoccupied with someone else's drama, how do I know this? How do I know if I'm preoccupied? If you're over involved in other people's stuff, right? And other people include spouses. So a spouse, a significant other, an adult son or daughter, your church group, whatever. Like I knew when I was separated. So my ex-husband and I had separated years ago over adultery, and I went back at that time. So we were separated for a couple months, and in that time, there was a lot going on. Okay, I was unemployed. I was pregnant. I had my 9-month-old with me. Like I had a little baby. I was pregnant. I didn't have a job, and I was separated. Cluster, right? Okay, so aside from a lot going on in the world, like my brain was not thinking about my own healing. My brain was not thinking about what I needed out of life, what I needed out of the moment, any of that. I was constantly thinking about him, what he was doing, what he was saying, what he was thinking, what he was doing now. What is he doing now? Well, what about right now? What is he doing now? Just constantly thinking about him. And that's not the point of being separated, is to be separated. Right? That's the point. You to have a respite, to, be okay and heal and like do what you need to do. That's the point. But my brain was constantly over there trying to fight his battles and solve his problems. That was an underlying problem, one of the several underlying problems of the entire relationship. We call that overfunctioning in the industry, overfunctioning. So if you're in a place where you are overfunctioning, okay, too much, and you feel like you need to be responsible for someone else's decisions. Now, when you're raising young children, that's a different conversation. A young child, okay, when they're teenagers and when they are young adults and when they're older adults, you're not responsible for any of their decisions. Not one. Not one. And if you are preoccupied with them and their families and their decisions and what they are doing with their lives, it's telling me you're running from your own. You're running from your own life. You're running from your own decisions. You don't want to make your decisions. You're preoccupied with someone else's. It's a sign that you're in that coping and crisis cycle. And something's got to give. Here's the problem with coping in crisis. Coping only lasts so long, and then crisis comes. It's a guarantee. So if you want to be prepared for crisis, as opposed to just coping and holding on until the next problem arises, I have a solution for you. Actually, a few of them that I want to share with you. Okay, so number one, I would recommend getting a copy of this book. It is already blessing people. Someone told me that they had bought it for a friend, and the friend hasn't had it yet because they've been reading it. Not just from a story level, but there is instruction in here where I told you about those 7 branches of your tree of life. We go over that in this book, how I got to that point. So it's not just like, oh, it's a story of a survivor, but there's a reason. And if you resonate with any part of my story, if you've experienced abuse of any kind, whether you are still in that relationship or you have left that relationship or the relationship left you, that's what happened to me. It left me. God graced me with that. Otherwise, the story would be different. I don't know if we'd be having this conversation today. But if any of that resonated, I would just encourage you to get this book and to share it with a friend. So that we can all grow together. We can all choose life together. Okay? So that's number one. But number two, something that's really been in my spirit is about reclaiming. So when we have situations where just like things are a mess and it fell apart and it's all on the ground, all right, so we shake the dust off and we can try to rebuild, or we can reclaim that ground. Okay? So just think about the ground of your heart, right? The ground of your heart that's maybe been abused, it's maybe been trampled on, you've maybe tried to wall it in and it's been lonely, or it hasn't been tended to, or it hasn't been open enough to receive the love of God even, right? I just think about reclaiming territory in your relationship with yourself. And so there's a fantastic modality. I don't know if you've ever experience the friendship, the support of a group around a particular area. So I am launching group coaching and I'm going to call it the Reclaim group coaching. So part of that will be these Facebook Lives. We're going to spend some time here talking about really important things. And then I want a chance to hear from you. I want to talk to you about things that you are dealing with. We live in an age where there's a lot of people on screens sharing a lot of information, okay? There's a lot of that. And so I don't profess to be the only expert in this area, but what I am giving you an opportunity to do is to be heard and to be seen. I know for myself, I listen to a lot of really good information, and I say, wow, that was really good. And sometimes there's something that comes up in my brain. Well, I can't apply that because X, right? There's something that rises up. And unless I have someone to sit and listen with me, unless I have someone to hold me accountable to the things I say I want out of life, I normally don't get anything done. It's just nothing happens, and I'm still in that, man, I really want to do that thing. I really wish I could do that thing, right? So I'm giving an opportunity to join the Reclaim coaching groups, okay? You can find more information about that by chatting with me. I'm going to put this in because, and I'm going to pause so I can spell it correctly. And this is a scheduling link that I hope I spelled correctly. My scheduling link where we can chat for about 20 minutes. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your story, a compressed version, and see if we're fit to work together for a Reclaim group. The beautiful thing about group is you're not just working you and I, but we are working as a team for your journey to reclaim ground in your relationship with yourself, which is pretty darn exciting. So they will start next week, Thursday. So on Tuesday we're here, on Thursday we're in our Reclaim group, and we'll have a Facebook group as well where we can encourage each other throughout the week. It's a 12-week, so 90-day, 12-week time frame where we're working together. And so all you have to do is click there and schedule a spot with me so we can chat, so I can hear from you, you can hear from me, and we see if we're fit. The other opportunity, before I talk about that, I wanted to share a testimony video with you, but Facebook won't allow me to, so I will tell you the testimony. I worked with a young woman named Desiree who, before working with me, was just really stuck in her business. Her relationships were very frustrating, and she felt like she was a smart woman. She could do this all on her own, and she was trying to, but just not getting anywhere. So after working with me, her relationships have very, very much improved. Her relationship with herself, though, in her words, she says, I trust myself. My confidence has grown, and I'm more aligned in my relationship with God and who God has called me to be. And she's moving in her business by leaps and bounds. I'm very, very proud of her. So I actually did put her video up on my YouTube, and I'll put it on my Facebook group so you can see it. Oh, wait. I got the link. So you can see Desiree's story there, okay? And then I have one other I want to share with you too. I'm going to have to go back here. Doing things on the fly. Thank you for bearing with me. And I don't think you can hear anything. No, you can't hear. I don't want you to hear that. But I want to share the link. Okay. I just told you that there's a lot of people that, there's a lot of talking heads today. There's a lot of people on screens. I'm in a little screen right now. There's a lot of people in screens sharing information with you. And sometimes it's really fantastic information, but bridging the gap is accountability and someone to hear from you, hear you, see you, know what you're dealing with specifically, and be able to speak into your situation. Well, that's one level. And level 2 is touch. Not just, physical touch or emotional touch, immersive experiences. And there is just such a need, especially coming out of a pandemic where we're all locked in houses and looking at each other on screens, which is now a part of life, right? But there's really such a place, and there's such a time for being able to be known, to be really known, not just one in a crowd of thousands, but to be seen and known for who you are, Jamie, for who you are, right? Hannah, for who you are, Judith, for who you are, not the churchy you, not the version of you that has to be responsible for all these other people and all these other projects and all these other things. Just you as a human being, you as a woman, you as a child of God, being able to pour into you And so we are hosting a retreat that I'm calling Sanctuary. We're calling Sanctuary, the Sanctuary Experience. It is September 24th, 25th, and 26th. It is in Clearwater Beach, Florida. So if you like warm weather and beaches, this is for you. It's beautiful. And it's 3 days of immersion. Okay, so we're doing not just learning about cool things, but experiencing ancient rituals that restore. There's spa treatments involved because you know I like massage. But everything is aimed at those of us that wear a lot of hats, carry a lot of responsibilities, and just feel like, not just there's no time for me. When you take time, you're still in a hurry. And nobody can necessarily see you, right? So you might get to steal away, but we steal away and scroll through our phones. Like, that is not rest, guys. So I'm not able to share my screen here and do the video with you together, but I'm going to post it in here. And I want you to look at it. It's just a minute and a half. But we're inviting you to experience sacred grounds, to experience time away, to experience sanctuary. And you can have a website for that too. Am I spelling that right? Yes. Okay. Make sure I spelled everything correctly. But you can go to TheReboundCoach.com/sanctuary and learn more about the Sanctuary Retreat. There are only 10 women allowed in this event. When I tell you it's an intimate experience, that's exactly what I mean. You are not a number. You are not, one of 100 or one of 1,000. That's not what this is. We want to very intentionally spend time with you. We want to get to know you. We want to pour into you. So, if any of that sounds great, your next step is going to TheReboundCoach.com/sanctuary and signing up for that, or TheReboundCoach.com/book, grabbing a book, or TheReboundCoach.com. I think it's on store, but really just using the scheduling and chatting with me. That can be your next step. Let's go to Calendly/Dallas Cohen, schedule a time, let's talk. Okay, so no matter what, we're wrapping up, I promise. No matter what, there's 3 kinds of people, right? Those who say thanks, but no thanks. I might be in that coping and crisis cycle, but I got this. Okay. Okay. I honor you in that. I bless you in that. I lived that for a really long time. I know what it is to be like, I got it. I'm Superwoman. I got this. Okay. I would recommend the book, just, because you like information. So I would just recommend you grab a copy of I Choose Life, and, should you ever become ready to receive help, we're here. Second of you would say, I like the idea of a community to support me, but I got to figure something out. I got to talk to a friend. I need more information. I need to figure. Okay, we got you. I would recommend getting a copy of I Choose Life and staying on these lives. Okay, let's just stay in touch. Okay, stay on these lives. Stay in touch. We'll see if it's a good fit down the road. If you're not ready right now, right? The third option says, I'm all in. I am done cycling from coping to crisis. I want to be free. I want to reclaim territory in my relationship with myself. It's not just getting back to good. I want to go from here to the promise I've been trying to get to my entire life. I'm ready to do what I haven't done so I can have what I've never had before. If that is you, your next step is going to TheReboundCoach.com and scheduling time with me. Let's talk. Let's see if we're a fit, And if we're not a fit, I'll recommend who might be a fit for you. But I want to help you. I want to come alongside and help you reclaim ground in relationship with yourself and move forward and finally get to where you've been trying to get to all this time. All right. That is all I want to share for today. It's been 45 minutes. My goal was 30, so I've been 15 minutes over. Next time I will share more about this cycle and how you can be free and how you can reclaim. So if there's any questions, I know Jamie was giving comments. I know Hannah said she had to go out, or Judith was here. If there's anyone who had any questions, Hopeaholic, I'm going through these things now, yes. If anyone had any questions, I'm happy to answer 1 or 2 questions. Otherwise, I will see you next week, and I will see you in our chat, one-on-one chat. Holding on to see if anybody has questions. I really appreciate you sharing time with me. I really appreciate it so much. If this blessed you, I ask that you please share with your groups, your Facebook groups, share with your friends, do watch parties. Please share this. Let it bless someone else today. Have a fabulous evening, and I will see you next time.